We had the pleasure of meeting for the first time 6 years ago on Security as Your Business One, and you were just starting out in the security industry, going from the military into security. What have the past 6 years taught you?
When I left the military, my skills were not what I thought they would be in line with corporate expectations, but I was relatively young at the time, so what was left for me was an opportunity to work in Iraq, which I took, and I worked there for close on 5 years. In that time I had some fantastic mentors, and what I realised was that the people who were making the real money and the ones that were making the real difference weren't the ones that were necessarily on the ground. They may be in New York or Sydney or London, driving the strategic direction of events on the ground in other countries. And to do that, it would require me to re-roll and essentially learn my trade all over again from a different perspective. And there were a few things that I was able to take from my military career. The ones that really made the difference were time management, working under pressure, working either alone or in team environments, but really nothing else of what I'd been taught. The last 6 years has really been about ensuring that the way that I have progressed myself is in line with my ability to continue a career in the security environment. And it's been challenging. It's been fun, and it's certainly led me through some interesting jobs and a foray back overseas for the government. However, it's led me to where I ultimately am at the National Gallery of Australia.
So you've walked into the National Gallery, you have this wealth of experience of both military, of working within government, of working for a private security contractor, and so on. What did you take into the National Gallery role?
A skewed view of security, which is really what I've come to learn. I came from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade into the National Gallery of Australia. And so Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, for its security function, is heavily skewed towards working under the Protective Security Policy Framework. And it's about securing not only your people, but the classified information that's held by Australia. Coming into the National Gallery of Australia, I came from the military background and that particular subset of security with the Protective Security Policy Framework into an organisation that gives you $6 billion in a collection and nothing to secure it with in terms of any other organisation that's given $6 billion worth of value gets an opportunity to lock it in vaults, put it behind walls, doors, armed guards, everything else. I've walked into an organisation that has every expectation you'll put as much of it on the walls as possible. It needs to be within 400 mils of the viewing public where they so choose. And really, if you wanted to, you could damage it, and there's very little I can do. And it's a different type of security. It's a real challenge because part of our mandate at the National Gallery of Australia is to ensure that the collection is as available as possible to the public. I still have that requirement to look after patrons and staff and $6 billion worth of stuff. It's just I need to look at it in different ways, and I still have compliance issues with the Protective Security Policy Framework, which wasn't necessarily written with cultural institutions in mind, and I still have requirements for insurers and so on. I'm just not allowed to put up physical barriers and things of that nature to achieve my job. So it's required a different way of thinking, and it's probably been the most beneficial thing to date that I could have done for my career in the security field. I am not a security guard or a security officer, and they're not the sort of people that I employ. We now are really customer service. We are engaging an organisation to achieve its aims of allowing people to get as closely as possible to what it is that they need to, however in the safest way possible.